Hey everybody, Ron here. Today I wanted to have a little discussion about role-playing games and IP, the impacts of your role-playing campaign on the canon events of the IP you play in. I love Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Marvel Universe, stuff like that. Harry Potter, and so on and so forth. But like, depending on what kind of campaign I'm running, I want different levels of immersion. Let's talk about a 5 point scale here, where one is, you're just another story happening off screen, to five is the table, the group, the players are the ones who decide what really happens in the universe. And I don't think I'm going to have any of these be five, but we're going to find out. We're going to start with Star Wars. On this scale, I would want to be right at three, where we fill in the gaps, but we're not changing the major outcomes. Luke still turns his father back to the light side, who destroys the Emperor, second Death Star, all that stuff. And then go on and so forth. But okay, that is original trilogy. Prequel trilogy, I really love what Lucas was going for. I'm not the biggest fan of his execution. So if I were to go with the prequel trilogy, I would go with a four, right? So the group can be actively a part of it. Of course, the Empire eventually comes and takes control, but the group would be a major part of the resistance to those forces. Maybe they would get some Pyrrhic victories in the end, but I wouldn't mind that. And I would still reshape some of the details, but we can leave the major points in place. Now, the sequel trilogy, and this is my opinion, folks, complete and total rewrite. We would just go from the end of the second Death Star forward. That canon would completely be in the hands of the group that I would write. I would ignore the expanded universe. I'm sorry if that offends you. I didn't read very many of the expanded universe books, although the ones I did read were very good. But I would totally rewrite, from the end of the original trilogy onward, and just play in our own sandbox. Lord of the Rings. Now, with Lord of the Rings, I think there's a lot of space to play in. So we're very solidly in a three category here. There's a lot of blank space there to play in. Don't even have to mess with the campaign at all. You might lean into four a little bit, but I'm really feeling like side story. You got to meet the major characters. You can influence how things happen, but not what happens. You can explain behind the scenes actions, but it is the main characters: Aragorn, Gandalf, Saruman, all of them doing their thing, keeping to that. So the One Ring Second Edition, I believe this lives right here at three, between two and three, where two is like, it's kind of a background ripple, where three is side story, canon, playing in the blank space. So that's kind of cool. Marvel or DC Universe, love the stories. Five, I rewrite the whole thing. I love the movies. I love the movies and the comic books that I read. But if I'm playing in the Marvel universe, I want to be a superhero that decides what happens in the world. So I would just be playing an alternate universe, which, that's the thing in the comics. So it's totally fine to be at five. If you really feel strongly about, being a part of Marvel Civil War, Secret Invasion, all that kind of stuff, you could do that at like three or four or two, even two. But for me, if I'm going to play a Marvel, be 5, which is why when I run superhero games, I just play in a different universe. I'm running Prowlers and Paragons in a universe of my own making, which is a big riff off of some stuff from Icons, but also from Prowlers and Paragons and everything like that. So it's a campaign I've been running since 2010, off and on. So it has a life of its own. Harry Potter. I really got to think about this one. I kind of feel like 2, maybe 3. I would definitely wouldn't go higher than that. I don't really know why. I can't really explain it, but 2 or 3 just kind of feels right for Harry Potter for me if I'm running an RPG like that. Mistborn. This is a series of novels by Brandon Sanderson. These are my favorite series of novels by Brandon Sanderson. Other folks at Stormlight Archive people, I am a Mistborn person. Mistborn Era 1, which is fantasy. Mistborn Era 2, which is kind of fantasy western. There has been a role-playing game, and there's now a new role-playing game that's basically D20 based for Mistborn. And I would not mess with those canon events, but I'm definitely here at 3 in that, side story canon. So that's where I want to live. And I think that's a pretty good place for a role-playing game to live in an IP in general. But I thought this topic would be interesting because there might be some answers that differed from 3, and I am there. So I've already discussed one example of that, or a couple of examples of that. So, and finally, Dragon Age. I have played Dragon Age 1 and 2, the video games. There is a Dragon Age role-playing game, so they definitely encourage you to play in the side story canon level, 3 rating. But for me, since it's a video game, I feel like we can get into 4 because it's a video game, right? Like, that's what you're playing a video game for. You're playing a video game to shape the canon, so of course you got to lean closer towards the canon where you want to make a major influence in the canon events. So yeah, it's 4. That's where I'm sticking. All right, folks, that is all I have for you today. Let me know in the comments about these IPs. Where would you rate? Where 1 is you're just observing what's going on in the story. Well, you're just kind of casual, well, not casual observers, but you're just there, but you're not really doing anything to affect the story. Or up to 5, which is a complete and total rewrite where you control the story. Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, see you later.